Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wild Chats Facts. And today is going to be all about ducks. Mar, did you have fun hunting down fun stuff about ducks?
It was actually very interesting and very eye opening because you think one thing, you generate this idea of dogs, and then you realize that they are such complex creatures and much more than meets the feather.
Meets the feather. Oh, we're going to go with puns. Were there times that you read a fact and you're like, really? What the duck? It was okay. All right. Okay.
Basically. Exactly.
Hey, oh wow, guys. Okay, There's gonna be some thrown in today, but we're also gonna try to not make the whole show putty. All right. And this is the beginning of the day. Usually, when we record late, is when we end up being a little more punny than if we record early in the day. But that's okay. These things happen. Do you want to kick us off more with fun stuff? So basically, the way it goes, guys, we pick a topic, in this case, usually an animal or an animal related topic. We scour the internet for all the fun stuff that we can find, basically put it on a list, and then we bring it to you here. So if you see us looking off screen just a little bit, that's us reading off the list. As much as we enjoy the facts, we are not memorizing them. And so that's where our headline is if you see us looking off. Mar, what would you like to kick us off with today?
I was actually very impressed with duck intelligence. So I'm going to kick
Okay.
it up a high notch Mensa style.
Okay.
They found out that actually the scientists are starting to rethink the whole concept of abstract intelligence. And abstract intelligence is the ones who can manage ideas, symbols, problem solving, the puns that we just gave, like innovations, things like that. Very
Okay.
abstract concepts. Well, they used to think that that abstract thinking was only achieved by critters or animals such as apes, crows, and dolphins, and of course humans. Well, they actually realized that such experimental learning was was in ducks from the moment they're born.
Okay. Okay. So I don't know if that makes this next fact of mine sad or a conscious choice, but hatchlings of ducks after their young hatch, they lead them to water, obviously, because that's one of their main environments. And mother ducks, they're protective, but they'll actually abandon ducklings if they're physically sick or stuck. So a duckling can be abandoned if it hatches too late. Also, the mom, if they've already led the first group of ducklings to water, she won't go back and then lead the other ones that hatch late to water. It's kind of like whoever's in the initial batch is who I got, and anybody after that, sorry. Um,
I think it has to do with survival, though. I mean, you have
for
to think
sure.
of the collective, which is very unfortunate. And thank goodness we as humans have the capability of making different decisions because now we are not in survival mode all the time. We have the technology that allows us to take care of the sick. But I thought it was very interesting about ducks that they are actually more, their eggs are actually healthier, more nutritious, taste better than actual chickens. And they produce more eggs.
Okay. I wonder why they didn't go end up. Ducks became a thing. I wonder if they produce more eggs. But they wouldn't have known that they were healthier back in the day when chickens became the predominant egg-laying bird of stuff we ate. I wonder if they're just harder to keep or maintain, or they require more food, or
Also, because they require a different environment than a coop. I think most people
okay,
went with what was easiest because if you only
okay,
have a 10 by 10 and then you have to have a pond because they do need that water. They do
okay.
need, at least a pool or something, especially when they are interacting with one another, not necessarily for their own individual need, but when they're interacting with one another.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, Ducks actually have three eyelids and they can see ultraviolet light. And we talked about this with dogs, how they actually have like a little windshield wiper, like inner lid that kind of clears things. That was dogs, right? When we did dog facts, Maria.
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes,
Because that
yes.
was your fact. So I wanted to make sure I got it
Yes.
right. Okay.
So in a fact that I picked up, you actually went a couple of steps further, but they have better vision than dogs. Like they really do because of the nictitating membranes, which
Hmm.
they use like goggles. So they're even better than not only just the ultraviolet, but they also even better.
So this isn't on my list, but it's just a fun piece of information for anybody that is ever wondering or ever tries to learn how to surf. Essentially, what you want to do, if you ever wonder how people sit on their boards and they just seem so perfectly balanced, what you do is basically called a blender. And it's kind of like what ducks do. You see that they're so static above the water and their bodies aren't moving whatsoever, but underneath their feet are paddling like crazy. So on a surfboard, you take your legs and you essentially, just like you would do with a blender, like a batter mixing blender. And if you just rotate your legs like that, that's how you keep your
Like
balance.
this?
You're able to just hang out on your board. But it's very reminiscent of ducks, how they don't move above the water, but then below the water, their feet are going like crazy. So
I love that.
yeah, just a total. If anybody was ever curious or decided to learn how to surf, that's how you would keep yourself balanced sitting on the board. Anybody that actually surfs is like, duh, of course.
But those
and
of
when
us
you go,
who don't is fascinating.
and when you go under the wave, like the waves are breaking above, and you're trying to get out, so you basically take your board at the front and you push it down to go under the wave. That's called duck diving. So there you go.
Oh,
So it's surfing is very duck-like. Now that I've put it all together, and I never thought about it in those terms before. So
nice. So the surfers should be called now ducklings.
the ducklings. Oh my. Oh my. Okay. What else you got for us, Mar?
It's actually your turn.
Okay, that was, I mean, it was a fact, even though it wasn't on my list. It was a fact. Okay, let's see. Ducks actually have accents. And we've talked about this with cows and stuff too. That just like humans, they're influenced by their environment and the communications and the accents and stuff that they hear around them. So,
That's adorable.
mhm.
Um, I'm gonna go with Thai. A fact I have based on what you're saying with the accents and things like that. If you ever have a question about if you have a male or a female duck, here's the easiest way to find out.
Okay.
They said that male ducks don't quack. They actually have like a soft, graspy sound instead.
Okay.
And also many of them, many breeds of dogs develop like a little curly feather. And of course the sizes kind of also help, but they develop in the back a little bit of a curly feather.
Okay.
Now, when they're younglings, of course, they don't have any curly feathers. They don't have feathers yet. So the fastest way to find out if you have a male or a female is if you hear them quacking. The ducklings that quack are females.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So
Okay.
that's the best way to know if you have a male or a female. If you hear them,
Okay, interesting. All right. The I'm gonna go back to the origin. So the duck actually comes from an old English word that means diver. If you guys have ever listened yeah, exactly. How perfect is that? If you've ever listened to like Shakespeare, or if you go way back to like Beowulf, like old English, it doesn't even sound like English. So I couldn't find the actual word that then. It's so funny when you're like in old English and then it has to actually translate it into an English word, even though it's technically the same language. So,
it's
but I
evolution of
couldn't.
language.
Yeah, I couldn't find the exact word, but basically it translates into today's diver. And so obviously some ducks, there's actually a species of ducks called diving ducks. Um, and they have the capability to like fully submerge themselves under the water. And then there's dabbling ducks. So there's two kind of different types of ducks. So diving ducks, their bodies are built in such a way that they're able to go underwater. And if you guys saw, I don't remember what video it was. It was one of our earlier podcasts where we saw that clip. Oh, animal abilities, where we saw the clips of the ducks diving under the water, and it literally looks like they're flying, and it just happens to be in a different medium because it's the same motion. And then dabbling ducks, their bodies are more built to float, so it's not. They're actually their bodies are designed different depending on what types of ducks they are, which makes sense. Most animals are built for hunting. Like if we talk about bears, some of their claws are straight and some are bent. Well, the ones that need to dig have a certain claw type, and the ones that climb have a different claw type. So it's just evolution.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same vein of evolution or adaptation to their environments, duck feet actually have no nerves or blood vessels. And the reason for that is if they're in cold water or in cold, like they're standing on ice, their feet they won't get cold. So this enables them to really swim in icy water and be okay in colder temperatures.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, this one's fun. Have you guys ever seen a flamingo? Maria, have you seen a flamingo before? Have you ever seen a plastic flamingo? Lawn ornament style plastic flamingos. Which one have you seen more of? Real flamingos or plastic flamingos?
You'd be amazed. I've seen more real flamingos than plastic. There used to be an era where everybody had plastic flamingos,
Yes.
and you would have thought that moving to Florida, everybody will have them. You
That's
actually
what.
see them more in Michigan than you see them in Florida, if that makes any sense.
So every time I see those, I'm just like, how did this become a popular thing? And a trend is a trend, and there's a lot of trends that have come along that I'm like, where did that come from? I found a cartoon actually when I was surfing Facebook, and you know those stickers they put on the back of like parents put on the back of their car, and it has the kids, like how many kids they have, and then how big they are. There's two lions that walk up behind the car because it's like a safari, and there's a male lion and a female lion, and they look up at the sticker on the back of the car, and one lion turns to the other lion. He's like, I'm not sure, but I think it's a menu. But basically, along those lines of a trend, the weirdest things can sometimes become trendy, just like a plastic flamingo. Well, the guy that created the plastic flamingo, that wasn't his first attempt. Before that trend caught on, he actually started with plastic ducks, but that
Oh, that's
failed.
cool.
And then he moved on to plastic flamingos.
It's interesting because the flamingos are more unique and also they're hot pink. Like you're going to have a cool lawn ornament with hot pink flamingos more than a duck. So yeah, I think he made the right choice.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. And when you talk about marketing and some hits and misses, and well, that's the same thing. It's like, no, sometimes those little variations make. And I give him credit because if I would have tried a plastic duck and it failed, I almost would have went like a different direction and gone with like a plastic elephant or something. Like flamingo is still like winged bird kind of thing. So congratulations to that guy. But I thought that was hilarious.
So in the same vein of plastic flamingos, who do you think has more vertebrates between a duck, a flamingo, or a giraffe?
So the giraffe is the one that you want me to say, but because they're mammals, actually all mammals have the same amount of vertebrae in their neck. So giraffe actually have the same cervical vertebrae count. I think it's 7 in mammals that we actually have. They're just much bigger and more spaced out. So I'm gonna rule that out because I feel like that was the one that you wanted me to pick. So now it's between ducks and flamingos. Oh, they're both birds. Yee. Okay, I really want to say flamingo, but I feel just because you asked me the question and it's a duck video, I'm just gonna go duck. I'm gonna go against my gut on this one.
Actually, it's ducks. Ducks have
Okay.
they have more vertebrates, so
Interesting. Okay.
ducks, which
All
was
right.
surprising.
Um, okay, guys, this is a little bit of a PSA. You know, we have fun with these on the channel every once in a while. I still haven't created a PSA drop icon, but um, even though it's very popular and most people do it, you're not actually supposed to feed ducks bread. Bread isn't part of their natural diet, and they don't really break it down properly. And then bread also expands in their stomach, so they feel full, which for a human being, if you're dieting, that's exactly what we're looking for. Like peanut butter makes you feel full, oatmeal, that's like a trick we use so we don't eat. Well, the problem is if you do that with ducks, not only are they not getting hardly any of the nutrition that they need, now their stomach's full, so they're not actually hunting or trying to find other nutrition that they do need. And there
Mhm.
was an actual university scientist that basically said that bread is the junk food of the duck world. and it makes them fat and disease ridden. And then along with that is basically any bread like style product, or if you think of a carbohydrate that could swell, you don't want to feed it to ducks for exactly all those exact same reasons. So crackers, rolls, chips, donuts, cereal, popcorn, all things you don't want to feed to a duck. So just a little
Interesting.
PSA.
So I wonder if it has to do with the wheat.
It is,
Because
and
wheat,
they don't get any nutrition out of carbohydrates the way that we do. Ducks need fat. So all this heavy carb stuff, it fills them up, but it doesn't give them any nutrition. Uh,
exactly.
yeah.
And they're hunters. I mean, you think of a duck, oh, they only eat, they are actually hunters. They will eat crickets, they will eat worms, they will eat fish. So
Mm-hmm.
giving them bread really is like really, really bad. I mean,
Yeah.
giving them corn, they used to think rice will actually blow them up and make them explode. That was a myth in the past.
Pigeons too. Yeah. For weddings, that's
Mhm.
what they used to say. Don't do rice at weddings because the pigeons eat it. And yeah.
But actually, nothing happens to them. It's just they should be hunting for their own food because they need to actually go get it.
Yeah. If rice actually exploded pigeons, we all know how many pigeons there are in the world. We also know how many weddings there are in the world, and the tendency for white dresses. So I would have to imagine there would be more than a couple wedding photos, because wedding photos are also very popular at weddings. So if
You
pigeons
think?
exploding from eating rice was a thing, I think there would be some pretty like horror style wedding photos out there around the internet.
Some serious hard evidence of that.
Yes, exactly. And Bigfoot style, there is not any photographic heavy evidence
Exactly.
about that.
So I do have something about, you mentioned something about diseases.
Yes.
And ducks, as well as pigeons, they have a ton of diseases. They can carry up to 60 different kinds of diseases, which could be, most of them, harmful to humans. Now, some of them are like, okay, you get an irritation on the skin or things like that, but that could include histoplasmosis, which is a respiratory of the respiratory disease, which could spread by fungus, and that through dry droppings. So you have droppings. So you have to be really, really careful. And when you go to the park, like make sure you rinse your shoes. So don't enter the house and go to your room immediately if
Ah,
you
okay.
went to the park. So to be
Okay.
very careful.
Very good job. Um, okay. Now imagine this in your brain. I want you to imagine a horse-sized duck. Yes. And then I want you to imagine that horse, because there's horses in all different sizes. Like the Clydesdales and stuff are big horses. This is an 8 foot tall or 2.5 meter duck. Now, if you're picturing that, basically there was carnivorous. Now it's carnivorous. So it's horse sized
Carnivorous.
and carnivorous. And they used to hang out in Australia 50,000 years ago, and they were called the demon duck of doom.
Demon duck of doom.
And not even just Australia. Before humans reached Hawaii, the dominant animal there were gigantic ducks, also.
And also, wasn't there a moa moa or something like that? That was also a gigantic bird. It's a different species, but there was also a big, big bear bird. But
They,
again, it would look more like an ostrich type of thing.
yeah, I don't know the name, but the mola mola is the sunfish. I think is the other name for a sunfish is mola mola. But I know what you're talking
Mola,
about.
mola. This is
MOLA.
moa, moa.
Oh, okay, that was close.
I think I'm right. This is
Okay,
don't quote me on it, but I know it's something like that. The
okay,
name of that particular horse size is called Dromornithidae.
I had it. I didn't want to try to pronounce it, so I went with the demon duck of doom. I just thought it sounded cooler anyway.
That sounds way more fun. So going with what we thought was irrationally weird. So my fact is about the dog-bill platypus. Nothing to do with ducks, nothing to do with mammals. There's a mixture of a mammal and a egg-laying critter called the
Okay.
platypus that is only found in Australia. Well, When they first saw the dog-billed platypus, when they first brought it to a museum, people thought at the British Museum, people thought that it was fake. So they tried to rip the bill off
Oh, just
because
yeah,
they couldn't believe that that would be a real animal.
yeah,
Well, now we find out it is. So as much as we don't want to take a specimen of an animal just to show, that's how they help people be able to understand them and study them. In the
yes.
past, now we just travel there and observe them in their environment, leave them alone. But the cool thing about the duck-billed platypus is there is only one platypus. They just call it duck-bill, but there's only one. Like I did a research thinking maybe there are more platypus. No, there's only one. It's
Okay.
just Anyway, they can actually carry in their pouches, in their cheeks, over 600 worms.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, they're hoarders.
I'm not even gonna play like the how big is the worm like question because 600 regardless, even if they're teeny tiny, is yes. But there is one piece of that puzzle that you just put together for us that I would like to correct.
Tell me about it.
Duckbill platypuses can be seen all over the world. If you are a fan of the fantastic cartoon Phineas and Ferb, because Perry the Platypus in animated form can be seen anywhere. You just have to turn on your TV and have Phineas and Ferb, and you've got it. But
I'm going to make a sideline about that.
okay, Phineas and Ferb sideline.
I have to because you said something and sorry, my computer battery is about to die and I forgot to plug it in.
Okay.
So it's done. Thank you. I apologize. So Phineas and Ferb. The guy who invented Phineas and Ferb, he had never traveled to hear a platypus. And
Yeah.
so he had this guy like, okay, make a couple of noises that you think a platypus will make. And I'm going to paint him teal color. And everybody thought, why are you painting a platypus teal color? That is ridiculous. That's not how platypus look. And it happened 20 some years later that they discovered that platypus produce in UV light. They look like they produce a little bit of bioluminescence, and it's that color. And the sound that he guessed, like platypus make,
Mm-hmm.
that's actually pretty close to what they sound like in real life.
See? Art imitating life, even if they didn't know that that's what life actually was. That is fantastic. See, the show's even better now.
Perry the platypus. Sorry, I had to
Yes.
say.
That sound though was hilarious. Like it's just that gargly like. I can't do it. I can roll my R's in Spanish, but I can't make a Perry the Platypus sound. Okay, let's see. A way to detect nighttime predators. A lot of species of animals, including ducks, dolphins, and iguanas, actually sleep with one eye open. It's not just like a something somebody says to their enemy, you better sleep with one eye open because I'm going to come get you. Well, these animals actually do it. And I know for dolphins, and it's the same for ducks, is basically they use one hemisphere, one side of their brain at a time. So they basically put one side to sleep. And if you know anything about the brain, it's the opposite side. So if the right side of your brain is sleeping, your left eye would be closed. So it's that crisscross. So basically they always have one eye open and one side of their brain awake for predators.
I
And
thought
then
the
for dolphins,
crisscross was on the neck, not necessarily the eyes. Are the eyes too? I don't remember if the eyes cross or if they start crossing.
I'm not sure. Most things in the body, at least the human body, is its opposite hemisphere to. But so don't quote me on that part. We'll back off of that statement then. But again, one hemisphere sleeps while the other side is awake. That way they're alert for predators. And then for dolphins and stuff, it's important because dolphins are mammals. They need to actually still breathe.
Yep.
Where a shark or something can just stay underwater the whole time. Dolphins actually need to keep surfacing.
Yeah.
And they can even choose which side is asleep. It's actually a conscious decision. Now, I don't know why it would be beneficial or why that wouldn't just be an involuntary reflex. You do, Maria. Fantastic. What do you got?
Many birds do this, and that's because they're community animals and they need to have others watching. So if they're in a like whomever is on the outside will keep that eye open, and whomever's on the outside will keep that eye open.
Ah,
So they do it as a community type of thing.
Okay, so then that does lend a little bit of credence to my one side of the brain is one eye and one side's the other eye, because you would shut if you're like, oh, I'm on the outside and we're circling left, then my right eye needs to be open. So I'm gonna put my
Either
right.
eye, whatever, but the eye
Okay,
that if I'm on the right eye opens. If I'm
that's
the left
interesting.
eye opens. Whether the brain is connected one way or another.
Okay, yeah,
Hmm.
because I had no idea. But like us breathing, it's not voluntary. It's not like I shall breathe now. Like it's an actual conscious choice they make as to what side is asleep, and then when they rest in circles with the outward duck. Yeah, basically what Maria just said, but that kind of rounded out. I didn't get to the end of my fact there, and it basically so they often rest in circles with the outside ducks sleeping, the
Hmm.
inward half of their brain keeping watch with the outward.
That's
So it looks
awesome.
like from my research I am right. It is one side versus I, and then they just know which one to shut off for exactly the reason Maria just said, depending on where they are in the protective circle.
Hmm. That is so cool how animals just adapt so well to
Mm-hmm.
um to um to life in general, really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have a really cool fact
Okay.
about um problems that ducks can cause.
Okay.
Chaos. And this happens all over the globe. So there is when there is a sudden migration due to cold weather, and there's a sudden migration, and they just like, okay, it gets too cold, let's just leave, let's go travel south and migrate. They generate chaos, and it's called a grand passage. Like they literally generate chaos in airports because the migration is so large. It's not like two three dogs and they will, oh, we'll serve for a plane. No,
Mm-hmm.
they're just going. So it's called grand passage, and it causes chaos around the world.
And what I read about that, because I came across that one too, it's in response to extreme weather events. So their normal
Hmm.
migration isn't
Hmm.
everybody all at one time.
Yeah.
So it isn't normally dangerous, but when there's an extreme weather event, it
Hmm.
basically triggers all of them to flee. Where a normal migration,
Yep.
some birds leave this week, some ducks leave this week, some ducks leave the next week. So there's kind of waves of them,
Yes.
not
Hmm.
everybody at one time. So
Hmm.
I did have, let's see, and it probably wasn't from one of those migrations that Maria was talking about, but the way that they found out the highest altitude an animal could fly, unfortunately, was a jet plane strike. But a jet plane over Nevada struck a mallard at an altitude of 21,000 feet.
Hmm.
And because of that strike, that's now the current highest record flight of any duck.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I want to correct something
Yeah.
that I said. When you were talking about the flamingos,
Okay.
I assume flamingos and ducks had about the same because they were comparing. My question was about vertebrates from giraffes and ducks.
Oh, you just
But
threw in
very
flamingos.
quickly, pardon?
You just threw in flamingos.
I did, because I assume, oh, they probably have the same or less, but actually, flamingos have 19 vertebrates, cervical neck vertebrates, while ducks have about 16 and geese have about 17. So I just wanted to correct that. And I was checking it because I added based on the conversation, and I wanted to check my facts since I was not sure that that was the case, and I
Gotcha.
wanted to correct. Mhm.
So I wanted to pick flamingo because I thought you were trapping me into an answer, where in
So you were
reality, you
right,
just thrown flamingo in. So had I known it was a toss in, I would have guessed flamingo.
and you
So
will
I
have been
was
correct.
wrong, but my thought process was
It
based
was
on
good.
an incorrect assumption on my part. Okay, all right.
Mhm.
Um, so we know that ducks can fly up to 21,000 feet up in the air, but speed, they're actually really, really fast. Like, really, really fast.
Really, really
The
fast.
fastest level flight, so not climbing and not diving to where you've got gravity to actually
Mhm.
help you. Fastest level flight by a bird has been seen in the spine-tailed swift. If you guys know anything about birds, anything with the name swift after it is probably pretty well swift.
Swift.
They're pretty fast. But the red-breasted merganser, I apologize if I'm pronouncing this wrong. actually can fly equally as fast. They've both been clocked at 100 miles per hour in level flight. So there is a species of duck that can fly as fast as a spine-tailed swift bird.
Well, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I actually found in one of my facts that I found fascinating about the height and things like that, and that he got hit by a plane or a jet, was that mallard ducks can actually fly for 8 hours basically straight. They can fly for many, many hours straight and about 800 miles. Like they can
Yeah.
actually cross the distance of California within 8 hours of them flying themselves. So it doesn't sound impressive if you compare it to a plane, of course, but it sounds very impressive when you think about, okay, you do it. See if you can walk.
Well, it's even more impressive because a drive from LA to San Francisco, thanks to traffic, takes like 8.5 hours. So the duck can do the whole state in less time. So
How the
that's
crow
impressive.
flies.
Yes, as the duck flies. Yes.
That's
All right,
awesome.
let's see. Because ducks mate for life, and ducks are monogamous, but they're monogamous for a season usually. But they found that the bigger ducks, the species of larger ducks, will sometimes actually be monogamous for multiple seasons. The rule of thumb for people, I guess, to follow ducks is like the bigger they are, the more monogamous they are, like duration wise. Um, but because they say mate for life, but I'm gonna go against that because I have a separate fact that says it's a seasonal thing. But a Korean groom will actually. Okay, that makes no sense to me.
They would request somebody to give them carved ducklings.
To like make them, but why wouldn't ducks? I don't. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I read that somewhere and I was like, okay, I'm confused too, but they wanted, because it's a I actually have some symbolism. So it could be due to the symbolism.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. But it is interesting. It's a wooden. Okay, have their friend make them two small wooden ducks. Okay, I guess one is each of them, and then all right, all right. I don't know why a little slow on the uptake this morning, guys. I apologize. A little slow on the uptake. Um,
You need some caffeine. Mine is green tea, but that's okay.
Maybe. Yeah, that might be it. All right, we're going energy drinks next.
So going with symbolisms then, kind of
Okay.
going with the same vein of what you're saying, some symbolisms that people generally assume is that ducks represent parenthood, motherhood, parenthood, fidelity, family connections, trust, and innocence.
Okay.
But on the other hand, Native American culture. And again, there are a lot of different groups of Native Americans and very, very extensive land. So it's not like you can assume everybody believes the same. But in general, in the Native American culture, dogs often appear as gullible, foolish creatures that are often taken advantage of by trickster animals like coyotes or foxes.
Okay.
So they're gullible and foolish, but also then that will make it with trusting and innocent. So you can see the two
Mhm.
points of view of the trusting
Yeah.
and innocent, gullible and foolish.
Uh-huh. The duality there. Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see. All right. It's not quiz time yet, but pseudo quiz. Based
Ooh,
on
let's
what you know
see.
about animals, Maria, and picturing a duck in your head or the head of a duck in your brain, either way, um, what degree vision do you think they have?
So their heads are not, it's not completely sideways. They have a little bit of an angle in their vision. So I will actually say they have a very good, it's way better than ours for sure. So it's not 180. Ours is about 180. Theirs are going to be a little bit more than that.
Okay. Almost double it.
Mm. Yeah, I
Basically
wouldn't be
because
surprised.
their eyes are on the sides of their heads. Most animals, guys, if their eyes are on the sides of their head, it's they don't have our vision requires focusing and then kind of that telescopic vision. But if
Hmm.
animals have eyes on the sides of their head, it's so they can have more peripheral vision. I saw 350 a bunch. I saw a couple that said 360. I don't know that I quite believe the 360s. But
I mean, ours is about 180. And if our eyes were moved on the side, I can almost see at least 350 because they're not going to have vision in the back of their head.
yeah, exactly. And the
Mhm.
eye thing is actually really interesting for human beings also, because I know when I was taking Aikido, one of our exercises that the instructor would have us do when we were sitting and meditating is you can actually train yourself to make your peripheral vision. I think you can get it somewhere up to like almost 270 degrees. Like you can super train yourself once it takes a lot of work. It seems stupid. It's like, well, your eye can either go that far or it can't. Not really the case because you have to get both of them to move independently and you have to really focus on what's out there. But you
Mhm.
can actually train yourself to gain a much larger peripheral vision. But again, it almost requires concentration. So if your normal field of vision is say 140, you could get it back to like 240, but then your normal day to day would be like 180. So you would still be expanding your unconscious peripheral vision by it's just like a muscle or stretching a tendon or something. Like you stretch it further when you're at your peak, but then, when you come back. But I always thought that was interesting because it definitely is possible to do.
And the spatial awareness. I mean, once you become like right now, as we're talking about it, if you focus to the front or whatever, you can almost just see how far your vision goes and be able to
Yeah.
calculate. But as soon as you become aware of it, it does extend a little further just because you're aware of it. We're
Yeah.
usually narrow because that's all we are thinking about and we're focusing on what we're focusing, and the rest is like a bubble, like
Yeah.
kind of. So just even that simple awareness. I found something really interesting. Like you were talking about eyes.
Okay.
I found something really interesting about their lungs.
Okay.
So our lungs, they inflate and deflate. That's what we do normally as we breathe. But however, birds, they don't have diaphragms like we do. They have sacs of air that are controlled by their muscles. And that means that the more they move, the more air comes through their sacs.
Okay.
So when they're taking off flying, that movement of them flipping the wings actually fills their body like balloons, and this allows for more oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange, which also makes them lighter than
Interesting.
when they're flying.
Interesting. That it's
Mhm.
kind of you kind of pumping yourself up before you do like a vigorous activity or something, as you're getting more oxygen into your blood and through your body. And I'm sure taking flight requires is kind of like weightlifting for us because they've got to flap and really work their muscles
Mhm.
and get moving.
Mhm. So when
Interesting.
you hear them quacking, to them that's just also part of like literally pushing a horn of air, because when you push air through a space, then it produces the loud sound. Well,
Yeah.
their bodies are almost like doing that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting. Like a little megaphone setup, kind of.
Yeah, isn't that awesome? I love that. I thought that was such a cool fact.
Okay. Um, we've actually heard this story before. There's a lot of like animal species that there was only like one or two or three. And so most of the versions of that thing are from one or two or three animals. We've talked about it with hamsters. I think it was Syria, like two or three hamsters were brought over, and every
Mhm.
hamster in the United States is basically genetically linked to those original three hamsters. We talked about, I forgot what the dog was. Oh, the Akita. Helen Keller actually brought an Akita to the United States,
Was
and
it
that
an
was
Akita?
basically the first one. I think it was Akita Inu, and that was basically
Hmm.
the first one in the United States.
Kiva Inu.
No, it was an Akita Inu. There's a Akita
Oh,
Inus also.
okay.
You just
Probably
call them
why.
Akitas, but I think their full name is Akita Inu.
Okay.
I don't think it's a separate breed. It's just we always shorten it to Akita. I could be wrong on that part, but I know it was an Akita Inu, so whatever that is. But also for the same thing, Peking ducks in the United States are descendants from only three ducks and one drake. So one male and three females that were imported to Long Island in 1873.
From China.
I will believe
I
that.
mean, I'm assuming because of Peking.
It's possible, but it is a popular food duck in their culture.
Mhm.
So it could be. I mean, I know I've had that duck in Singapore and other places
Mhm.
too. So that's a pretty popular duck in Southeast Asia. Now, I don't know if it was in the 1870s, but if anybody knows, write it in the comments. Let us know.
Well, speaking of that, um, Campbell's soup. When you think of Campbell's soup, what is the first flavor of soup that comes to your mind?
Like chicken noodle
Chicken noodle? Okay.
or chicken rice. Chicken
Okay.
rice, chicken noodle. Yeah.
Okay. Mine is tomato. Like that's the one I buy.
Okay.
Tomato. I know. Well,
Kind of
if you go to
soup.
Hong Kong, it's gonna be completely different.
Okay.
They actually have duck gizzards. Is one of the most popular Campbell soups there.
If you've ever seen the chip flavors in Southeast Asia, that would not surprise you even a little bit. Like they've got like squid flavored Pringles and like seaweed flavored Lay's. Like there's some weird flavors.
That is very, very unique
Really
for
weird
us. For us.
flavors. Yes. All right, guys, let's move on over. Well, let's see, Mar. Do you have any more fun ones that you want to share before we move into the quizzes?
No, I think I said the ones that I like the most. Like the ones
Okay.
that I was like, these are just very fun.
All right. Mar got her favorites in. I have So I have a quiz that's very in line with something we did in the past, and then I realized since you did not grow up with American cartoons, this may be equally as difficult for you as it was in the previous episode. But I'm going to do it anyway because, again, the quizzes are for us, but it's more for you guys out there. I want you guys to get involved. I want you guys to have fun. We've all watched Jeopardy. We've all kind of like, oh, I know that answer. Oh, I didn't know that. Or, oh, come on, you idiot. How do you not know that? That's part of the fun of the quizzes is see if you can get it. And then what I'm going to do is give Maria some hints to get her closer. If she doesn't know the answer, she's going to do the same thing for me. We're going to go back and forth a little bit and just have a little bit of fun. So we had talked before about somebody voicing Fozzie the Bear, and he also did Miss Piggy, and he also voiced Animal, Yoda. There's one other big one in there that I can't think of right now. But and I
It
told you back
wasn't
then.
Yogi. You said it. You said
Yeah,
him.
there was another big one
Mhm.
though, like Miss Piggy, but that's okay. It doesn't
Cookie
really.
Monster.
But basically, there's like three guys that voiced most of the main characters that you've heard before. They're just really good at voices. That's why they got these jobs. Mel Blanc was one of those guys,
Okay.
and I would like you
I'm not gonna know.
to tell me some of the characters because one of them was clearly a duck, but I don't see the duck on my list. But I know one was. I'm gonna
So
get.
Mel Blanc, didn't he write Grandma got run over by a reindeer? Wasn't it him who did that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think he did that, or All I Want for Christmas is My Two Front Teeth.
Oh, okay. I don't know, but I need to come back. He was the
Come
voice
back.
of Daffy Duck, so you have a basis for your guesses now. That was the most important part. You need a basis for your guesses, so this guy was the voice of Daffy Duck. Now, along the same lines as the previous question we asked you, they do tend to voice characters because you want to save money on your production. So they voice characters within the same family. So that way
Mhm.
you've got 7 characters, but only 3 guys doing voices, basically. So knowing that he did Daffy Duck, you can think in that same family. Now, he did a few non-Looney Tunes characters that were very popular. But can you name any of the other Looney Tunes characters, and there's like 10 of them, that the guy who voiced Daffy Duck also voiced?
This is horrible.
Is it?
Yeah, because I have no clue, but I'm gonna make it up.
Well, I mean, do you know any Looney Tunes characters? I mean, he voiced like
Yeah,
10
but
of them.
the voices that when I used to watch Looney Tunes, they were in Spanish. So it's very
Okay.
hard for me to get the timbre of the voice, somebody's timbre on the voice or things like that. Like I cannot think. I will actually think Elmer. I'm just gonna go with what I think would be
Okay. Let's see.
Bugs Bunny. No, it wasn't Bugs Bunny.
Now, again, voice artists are very good at what they do, so ones might not even sound like another one.
Good
So
point. Good
I
point.
guess the question almost becomes list Looney Tunes characters. Does that help?
Less.
List. Just
Oh,
start
list.
spouting off Looney Tunes characters.
Okay, so let's see if I'm good at Looney Tune characters. So we got Daffy Duck and we got Bugs Bunny, and we have the the hunter. What's his name? When he did the Barber of Seville. There are two hunters. One of them with the goatee, and the other one is the bald one.
I can only think of the one with the goatee. I can't think of the bald one. It's not the bald one, though.
Okay. The other guy. What's the name of the other guy?
Yosemite Sam.
Okay, Yosemite Sam.
Okay.
Again, the names are different in Spanish. By the way, I used to think Yosemite was when I read it the first time in one of our videos, and I had to ask you, I had to re-record it. I said Yosemite.
Yosemite. Other people I have heard say Yosemite.
Yosemite. I'm like, oh, Yosemite, and you're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, Yosemite Park, and you're like, no, it's Yosemite. I'm like, oh.
All right, okay. Guys, I will go ahead and read off the list because I'm sure everybody out there that has already made their guesses or doesn't know or made their guesses. So the list, which is actually pretty dang impressive because I'm thinking of these voices in my brain and they're nowhere near the same. And a couple of them I don't even think have voices. But, so yes, and we all know Looney Tunes, they like the double letters. So Bugs Bunny, Porky Pig, Tweety Bird, Tweety and Daffy. Yeah, those are close. Those are close. I think those voices, I could definitely see that one. Sylvester the Cat, Yosemite Sam, Foghorn Leghorn, Marvin the Martian, the now got cut out of the movie Pepe Le Pew.
Why? I like Pepe Le Pew. Whatever, doesn't matter.
There's a little machismo. There's a little bit of machismo to Pepe Le Pew, so when they redid Space Jam 2, in the current culture, they just decided that his version of masculinity didn't need to be included in the...
yeah, I get it, but he was funny. Yeah, yes. I get it.
Speedy Gonzales.
I love Speedy Gonzales.
Because it was considered racist. And I'm not joking about that. I actually think they got rid of Speedy Gonzales.
I love
Tasmanian Devil.
Who?
Who I don't think has a voice, the Tasmanian Devil.
He doesn't have a voice, but he's hilarious. I love him.
He doesn't actually say anything. But the non-Looney Tunes characters were fun to me, actually. Barney Rubble.
Who's that?
The Flintstones?
Again, I watched it in Spanish.
Oh, that's right. Okay. All right. Well, you should still know the names are the same, aren't they? Or do they change the names?
Oh, Pedro Picapiedra is nowhere near...
Yes, that totally translates to Barney Rubble. Mr. Spacely.
Well, no, who's the big guy? Not Barney. Barney's the blonde guy. What's the name of the big one? Fred.
Yes.
Fred. Okay, Fred. Pedro Picapiedra.
Yeah. Wile E. Coyote and Woody the Woodpecker. All right. We'll go faster on mine because that one took like 6 minutes.
Yeah, like forever and ever. So, but it was fun though. Like that's pretty cool.
It was.
I gotta give it to those. Huh?
What do you have for me?
Okay, so there were tests on hot air balloons, and we're talking about ducks, so we can assume that a duck was on the list of the first living things to go on a hot air balloon. Could you guess out of 3? We got the duck. Would you would you guess?
Okay. So this is going to be unfair.
This is the first air balloon in 1783. So it's not like somebody took their pet.
Much like the space shuttle launches and such, they like to send animals first before they'd send any humans up just to make sure. So unfortunately, this was one of my questions for you, so I have the answer. But for everybody out there, I think an interesting way to think of it too is kind of different types of animals that do well at elevation or not, so you can test kind of how a human would do, but also animals that can't jump out of the basket. So no chimpanzees and primates, even though they're pretty close to us. You would think that would be a really good test animal to put up before you flew yourself up into the
But
first
I
higher
assume they
dimension?
actually put them on a basket because one of those couple of those animals can really jump.
Probably, but I'm trying to give them hints if they don't know the answer to get them closer so they can have some fun with it.
Okay.
Um, do you have any clues that you would like to give the audience to help figure out what the other?
So
I mean,
we
it's duck.
got the duck. We got the duck.
Yes.
So the clues are barn animals. So they're easy access on the 1780s, 83s, easy access to barn animals who have double purpose. One of them is to keep you warm at night, nice and fluffy and cozy at night, and the other one will wake you up in the morning. Those are the clues.
Okay. Okay. So we'll give everybody like 5 or 10 seconds out there to ponder. We'll
So
play a little.
nice and fluffy. What critter provides you nice and warmth and coats and socks and all that stuff? And who is the winner of waking you up in the morning still today? Those are your clues.
Okay. All right. And coffee is not an animal.
Yes,
All right. Just making sure. Just making sure. All right, Mar. You want to give everybody out there the answer?
we got sheep, duck, and rooster.
Okay.
Those are the answers.
So this one is we asked Maria on a previous video what athlete was nicknamed the Black Mamba, and Maria does not follow sports as closely as some of the people out there. So if you are a sports follower, this will be some fun for you. What professional sports team has the name Duck in it? It's for Maria also, but if she doesn't get it, I totally understand.
Isn't it a hockey team? I'm gonna go with a hockey team.
I'm going to give everybody a little time to come up with their answers out there. Give them just a little time to think through. It is a hockey team. It is a hockey team. And that hockey team is
Mighty Ducks.
from where?
Gonna have to be somewhere in Canada or somewhere up north. I have no idea. It's not Michigan for sure. Those are Red Wings. Oh, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
I'm just guessing, guys. Sorry, I'm guessing.
So if I told you that they were named the Mighty Ducks because of their association to Disney, who owned the franchise and then created the hockey team and named them, now what city would you guess?
Well, there's either Florida or Sacramento, or whatever Disney is in California. Isn't the one in California?
You think Disney in California is in Sacramento?
I don't even know where Disney is. San Diego, San Diego.
Oh, I'm crying on the inside, everybody. So I always tell everybody that I grew up in Los Angeles. In actuality, I spent up to about 16 in Los Angeles. And then I moved to Anaheim, which is home of Disneyland. And I owned myself an annual pass to Disneyland for probably 4, 5, 6 years. Probably some of the best money I've ever spent. And the Anaheim Mighty Ducks were named thus because Disney, who's also in Anaheim, owned the team.
Anaheim. You can tell. I've only been to California once. I should have known that even if I have not been. But I did guess Mighty Ducks.
You did. I was impressed by that part. I was impressed by that. Do you have any more quizzes for me, Mar?
No, because we already talked about them.
Okay, this is one. It'll just be fun for everybody. It's a little fact and a quick quiz. Mar, what age do ducklings start to fly?
So they have to fledgling first, so that's a couple of months. I'll say a month and a half.
That's very specific. It's very specific. Round up or down. Like pick a full month number or
2
another
months.
full month number. 2 months. Maria is correct, everybody. At 2 months, ducklings start to fly. Wanted to make sure we got her exiting on a good note. Not that I knew she was going to get that right, but good job, Maria.
I didn't know I was going to get it right.
No,
Right.
it sounded good.
I
All
so
right.
apologize to anybody in California, any Disney lovers. I did get Mighty Ducks. I'm very proud of that. But also minor league baseball and other teams, they come up with the best names. So like El Paso Chihuahuas, and they have some really, really cool creative names. So look those up because there's something like the Barnacles or some crazy names.
Yeah, you're like, okay, that's a great name, but now we got to make a mascot for it, and someone's got to dress up in that outfit. Good luck with that part. I'd like
No,
to
but there
see
was
some.
on like the barks, and he's a duck. He's one of those ducks that are longer neck, and anyway.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right, everybody. Do us a huge, huge favor if you don't mind. If you enjoyed the show, which if you've made it this far, I'm assuming you did enjoy the show, please click the subscribe button and the bell icon, which will give you notifications when our new videos come out. We also are doing videos over on Undiscovered World that are other facts videos, very similar to this structure. But they're all non-animal things. Maria and I love animals, and we have the most fun with this. But we wanted to learn some stuff about other things also. And unbeknownst to Maria, which is going to be really fun, is somewhere down the line, I've already prepped probably 20, 25 topics that we can do. One of those topics is actually Disney. So let's see if Maria can learn a couple things before that video comes up. If not, she'll have some time to research then.
If you
Uh,
didn't know, in California there is a place called Anaheim. Yeah, go check it out.
she probably doesn't even know California Adventures is the other park at Disneyland, but that's okay. She'll learn it whenever we get to the Disneyland video. Thanks guys so much for watching. We really enjoyed it. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. As always, we'll post a question in the community tab for YouTube and in the free section of Patreon. And if you guys have any more fun facts about ducks, please share them with us. If we got some things wrong, please correct us. If you just want to share a story about having grown up in Anaheim, I would love to read them. Um,
Or if
and
you have any tips and things about ducks that you have experienced, any cool stories about it.
yes, I think a lot of us as children do, because there's so many ducks at ponds, and there's usually feeding mishaps and being chased around by them because we angered them somehow. There's lots of fun duck stuff out there, which is why we did the video. We actually have a video coming up, a regular podcast for Wild Chats. And all the clips are going to be duck based. There was so much fun stuff I found about ducks that I actually made an entire video, kind of like we did alligators and crocodiles. We're going to have a just solely duck video coming up in the future also that you guys might enjoy. But again, thank you so much for joining us. And we are going to jump over to the backstage show. So all the Patreon subscribers, jump on over there and we will see you in a second.